You may recall two of the al-Qaeda hijackers in the 9/11 attacks took flight lessons at Montgomery Field. More than 12 years later, County Supervisor Diane Jacob wants to implement new restrictions on local flight schools where foreigners are taught to fly. Advocates for Safe Airport Policies, a grassroots group near Gillespie Field, backs the proposal. But several pilots, flight instructors, and schools oppose the ordinance, saying it's redundant of existing federal laws. Flight instructor Barry Bardak and neighborhood advocate Ed Blitz join me with a look at two sides of this issue. And welcome to Evening Edition.
Thank you. Thank you.
Barry, let me start with you. Terrorists and hijackers, they're still a concern. They're still real threats to travelers. Why are you and many other instructors and flight schools against this proposal?
First, let's make it clear that no one is more concerned and more passionate about preventing anything like that from ever happening again. The problem with this ordinance, the way it's written, it will impose, I know staff says otherwise, but the way it's written, it specifically is asking these flight schools to vet students in areas where they don't have the database to adequately do that. Only TSA has that. So TSA is the only one who can do that.
Let me ask you about that further. What procedures does the TSA and the federal government have in place right now in regards to foreign students learning to fly?
Right now, all flight instructors and foreign students who are involved in training have to have written authorization from the TSA to perform that training. The TSA inspects all flight schools that are doing training at least once a year, and if they're doing training of foreign students, they inspect them twice a year to make sure that they're complying with all federal aviation regulations and TSA regulations.
Okay, so let me get to Ed on this then. So the local proposed ordinance is a response to a 2012 government accountability report that found loopholes in the TSA vetting process of foreign flight students. Why do you think the federal guidelines aren't enough? Why do you think these loopholes are there?
Well, I think TSA is understaffed, underfunded, overworked. This is just a double check to make sure that the student has the proper paperwork, has the proper visa. It will take a minute or two on behalf of the flight school to look this. Nobody's asking the flight schools to do a whole vetting procedure. It's strictly looking at the paperwork and making sure things are in order, and that's the end of it.
Now, Barry, I know you disagree with the amount of time and energy on that, but before we get back to that, are there a large number of foreign nationals coming to San Diego to become pilots, and if so, how come?
There's a large number of foreign pilots coming to the United States. Every airport that has a large flight school has foreign students. They're coming here either because their own countries don't have the infrastructure to perform it, or their own countries have created so many fees that it's economically infeasible for them to train in their own countries. They can come to the United States and train a lot lower cost.
Now, Ed's argument, I wanted to get back to that response on that, is that, look, this isn't going to cost you much time. You just have to look at some paperwork. So what's the problem?
You have to read the ordinance. The ordinance says that the flight school is going to be responsible for vetting these students. Right now, the county is saying, oh, they're just going to have to do exactly what Ed is saying they're going to have to do. But that's not the way the ordinance is written.
Okay, so there's more involved.
Yes,
okay.
Much more.
Now, Ed, your advocacy group, I understand, is made up of some neighbors who live near Gillespie Field. My question to you is the reason this group is opposed to this or is for this ordinance is because it will limit the number of flights in general and the training flights going over the houses and the neighbors nearby?
Well, this ordinance wouldn't do anything towards that. I mean, this is strictly a security issue, and that's why we're for it. This has nothing to do with the numbers. I mean, we have 140 to 160 flights over our homes, over our military near our military bases, over our reservoirs. They're all over the place, and that's a whole other serious issue. This ordinance is for security purposes and security purposes only.
Okay, and we have to end on this, but I'll get to both of you. I'll start with you, Ed. Do you think this is going to increase cost of flight schools and training for pilots?
Oh, not at all.
And do you think so?
Oh, yes, it will, because if it does pass, there will be legal challenges.
Okay, Barry Bardak and Ed Blitz, thank you so much. There's a whole lot more on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.